Okay, hello. I just thought I'd pop on because yesterday I finished off the main piece. I didn't put the blue, well, I did put the blue ones in the corners like I said on my last podcast, but I didn't like them, so I've taken them off because this is the quilt for my little now Anita messaged me and told Trug, I think it's called. Love the name, absolutely love the name. Well, anyway, I thought I would just pop you on as a little extra to show you how I remove my papers, because as you know, I have done the tacked these ones, and with these ones here, I just to say I did glue, but I did rip a couple of papers, taking them out. But with the tacking, I don't seem to do that, as I said in my podcast, because everything seems to be a little bit looser, so it seems to be a little bit easier. Anyway, I'm going to move you down, okay, and then I am going to show you exactly what I use and how I remove my papers. Okay, so let's move you down there. Let me see if I can, sorry, I might actually, sorry, put you on my ironing board and have you right close. Oh, bit too much there. There, okay, let's see if this works, shall we? And let's hope you don't fall off. I actually use a flower head pin, okay? And then I get, that's why I put the knot at the top and I just pull the thread through. I don't actually cast it off at the end, you know, knot it off at the end. Pull the little bit out, get the flower head pin because they fit underneath. Go halfway, get a hold of the knot, pull it out. And basically that is it, really. So start off here. I'd say I go about halfway on the hexagon. Get the knot that I put at the top and pull it out. Let me do a couple more. Make sure, hopefully you can see this. So do a couple, take it out. And you will find eventually that your papers, as you're going round, will just fall out. That's fine. I'm going to show you the next step in a moment. Okay, I will carry on taking out all these ones. I've done the centre ones already. They're all here piled up, ready to be used again. Okay, see, there's all my seams at the back. But I must admit, I will say I did give it just a quick press over before I do remove these outer papers, because as you know, let me take one out. This I've done. So take it out from the inside like that, you see, and then that lays. Okay, and I will show you in a moment after I've removed these papers what I do next. Right, okay, I'm back. As you see, I've removed all my papers, and this is the thread that I had left over. Now, that is why I said when I did the first tutorial to just use a cheap, like a moon thread or something like, not a tacking thread, because Gutermann's do a tacking thread and that's going to be too thick. And that'll end up putting too thick holes in your papers. But yeah, so this is just now going to be thrown away. So just please use a cheap thread. They all came out all in one piece, which is really cool. Now, what I will do is, yet again, the good old best press. I don't know what I'd do without this stuff. I really don't. Some people will starch and all that lot, but I just like the best press. So, I pressed beforehand. I should take those out. That's where I put my blue ones in and changed my mind last night. Right, lay over what actually has moved a little bit. Get a piece of this. Go like that on your corners. You just hear the sisal. Let's move that out of the way. Oh, let's put you there. Fold you up. Fold you over. And that one looks a bit. There we go. Let's get you from this angle, shall we? Right, now let's go back again. Pop you over here. Okay. Right. See, now you see how crisp that has gone with that best press. It is amazing stuff. I can't actually recommend it highly enough, really. Okay then, so let's get rid of all the little bits and bobs. Right, now I have chosen the blue that I used to line my little fabric basket as the outside. So then what I'll do, I'll applique this onto it, and then I'm going to layer it up and then hand quilt it. And then I can't decide whether I don't know what I'm going to do about the binding, for instance. I don't know how I'm going to do the edges yet, but I will come up with something as I go along. I normally do. So this will probably take a few days in process, but I just thought I'd pop on, and then every step I do, I am going to show you. Okay? Okay, right then, I'm back. Right, as I said, so I'm now going to cut my piece of background fabric. I will, you know, put it on there central and so on, and then I will show you later on when I get going how I do my applique stitch, because obviously now this has got to be appliqued onto the back. And yeah, and then I will video each step and then I will upload for you. So I will probably be back in the next few days. Right, okay, so I've cut my background fabric, and I've given everything a press. Now what I do when I actually do my background fabric is I fold it in half, give it a press on the edge, fold it in half again, and I don't go right across, because if you go right across with your iron, you're taking out this. Let me explain. Hang on, because I've got that all lined up. Right, so if I press this across, I fold it in half and press that across there like so. And then when I do this piece this way, I will only press from about 1/2 inch to there, from about 1/2 inch to there, because then I'm not, with the iron, I'm not taking away this line. So there you have actually got more of an accurate line, you see. Okay, so I've got my background. Let's pull you down. Okay, so luckily what with hexagons you can use the points, or I can with the points here, but I needed to find the edge. I know I've got a 3/4 of an inch hexagon I'm using here. Okay, so I know it's 3/4. What was it? 5/8? No, 3/8. It was it. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, 3/8. So let's recap that. So I've got a 3/4 of an inch hexagon. So I halve that, which is 3/8 of an inch. Just put a little mark with my friction pen, and I line up these on here, there and there, and then I put my my marks there and there. Now I know I've got that completely central. Now in my little tin here, these are what I have got as applique pins. You don't have to use applique pins, you can really use any pin you like, but I like to use the applique pins. And then I will just put, not in every one because you don't need it, and it'll end up hurting your hands while you're sewing it on. Just put some pins, I'll put them in the main parts first, and then I'll fill in a couple of these as I go along. Also what I've done is, and this is what us quilters always do, is the background fabric and the wadding, when I cut the wadding shortly after I've appliqued this on, always has to be cut bigger than your finished piece. And I will get to that when I start the quilting, and I am actually going to hopefully get right through to how I do my hand quilting and so on. Okay, so there's my pin. Or you could quite easily tack, but just don't go right to the edge, to go in a bit, okay, if you do tack. But I find that these pins are ample enough to hold it on. You can get have I got some? Yes, some glue based. Now I do use that for little projects, but something like this, I do like to keep it pinned. Okay, so what I am going to do, what I've just noticed, I'm going to keep this line here, because these are this one and this one, so this one needs one as well, because these are my guides. So these are what's going to keep me actually central. There you go. Okay, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So now I will do the applique stitch, and I will do a little I will add onto this and do a tutorial to show you how I do that. But I will say you do have to cut the backing and the background a little bit bigger, and then you applique it on, and then you'll trim it down to the actual size, because this, there will be movement. Okay, so you've got to allow for that little bit of movement. So make sure when you actually appliquing on, you cut this a little bit bigger than you want. I think I want this, what was it, 11 by 7, and I've cut this 10 by 12 and a half, I think. So, you know, or was it 10 and a half by 12 and a half actually? So, you know, just a little bit bigger, and then when it's appliqued on, I'll give it a good press, and then I'll trim it down to what size I need. Okay, then I will be back soon. Hello. Right, okay, I'm back. I've been appliquing my piece on, like I said, and the blue will definitely match because it's the same fabric that's in here. Okay, so I've got so far. Luckily, I remembered I was going to record because I nearly forgot. I can't believe it. I get carried away. I go round and yeah, so I've only got a little piece, but that's all I need is a little piece really, just to show the stitch. Now we do actually call it an applique stitch, but it is basically like the hem stitch. So I have actually gone back to my 60 weight thread, which is the Metla, and I have matched the colour green to the green fabric. Obviously, as I've said before, the 60 weight is thinner, and I think that the Aurifil has brought out the 80 weight, but I do like the 60 weight Metla, and yeah, it's, you know, it's absolutely fine. You can't see your stitches and so on. So I'm going to tilt you down, and fingers crossed you'll be able to see this. So I will apologise now, and let's put you down. I will see if I can get as close as I possibly can. Okay, so basically, whoop, there you go. I am using my same needle, my gold and black clover needle, because I do like these. So I use the same needle for my applique as what I used for the actual putting the English paper piecing together. So fingers crossed this works, eh? So what I do is I've come up here, if you can see, I've come up here. I go back a little bit and pick up a couple of threads of the bottom fabric at a straight. Then tilt my needle over to an angle and pick up just a couple of threads of the actual hexagon. Pull that, and so this little line here that you've just made is going to be straight and invisible. So let's do it a couple of times. So I've come up here, I go back a little bit, do a straight on the bottom, an angle at the top. Now I normally do this about a quarter, no, not as long, yeah, about, I'd say about a quarter of an inch, a little bit more than an eighth, perhaps not as much as a quarter of an inch apart, because you, yet again, you don't want to do too many stitches because it's just going to pull it. Okay, so it's straight, straight on the bottom. I will get that in a moment. Hold on. This isn't easy. Straight at the bottom, come up at an angle, and sew. Ooh, straight at the bottom, come up at an angle, and sew. And you will find that, you know, it is just going to become one flow. At the moment I'm doing it as a 2, and I'm doing a 2 and an angle and that, but you will find that I always try and catch my corners. Now I've only got this little piece here, and then I'm onto my quilting. So oops, there we go. See, I'm kind of doing it as one movement, where it is actually 2 movements. It's straight at the bottom, and you move slightly over, not quite that much, and catch a couple of threads at the top. And that is basically it. You see, you can't see the stitches. So hopefully, let's lift you up again. There you go. Hopefully that's worked. So I'm just going to do that little piece, and then I will get you. Right then, okay, I have finished appliquing on, cut it all down to size, as you can see, added on my seam allowance, And this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, I know this lovely quilter. Her name is Lynn Edwards, and she is amazing at what she does. Her patterns are so good to follow. And she's from over the pond, as they say, in Suffolk. So she's local to this area. And a very, very clever lady. And I did buy a pattern from her a few years ago, which was a table runner. And what she did is she did the top, and then for the back, because I actually don't really want to bind this because the width of the hexagons really goes towards the edge of really here and here. And I don't want to make it any more bulky, you see. I don't really want it to curve up as a lot. So what I've done is, because normally what we say is you make your sandwich. So normally your sandwich is your front, which is your patchwork. Then you have your wadding. I always use an 80-20. Well, I say that, but now I will be going over to 70-30 eco. But I'm only, at the moment, I'm just using up some 80-20 scraps that I've got. And then you have your backing, and then you will tack it for hand quilting or pin it for machine quilting. Now, and then you normally cut it down and bind it, because your wadding and your backing has to be at least 2 to 3 inches wider all the way round the actual quilt top to allow for movement, because there is going to be movement, you know, while you're doing it. And everything in patchwork and quilting, you will find whatever you're doing now, you're preparing for the next stage. So when you were doing your patchwork, it was literally being prepared for the quilting stage. You know, it's just the way it works. But what I've done is, because my back isn't actually long enough, I could have used a different fabric, but I didn't fancy it. And also, as I've said, I didn't really want to bind it because I didn't want to add more bulk around the edges. So what I've decided to do is do it like a, as I say, like this table runner that I made. And you actually make the back in 2 pieces and do it like an envelope cushion. But you don't, obviously you know, you only have that seam there, so you could turn it all inside out, so what they call is bag it. Okay, so you're not actually going to use it as a cushion because I want it as a quilt. So what I will do is I will now quilt this, hand quilt this, I've decided to do. And I've already prepared my piece, and I've folded over the edges and sewn them on my machine inside and out. And I've kind of basically made it like an envelope. So then eventually, when all this is finished hand quilting, I will lay it on like so, right sides to right sides, and then I will sew all the way around like that, and then I'll bag it through after I've snipped off my corners and my seam allowance. Bag it through, press it flat, and then it's all finished, and all the raw edges are on the inside. So, right then, let's get you to where we get for the hand quilting. As I said, basically what you'd normally have is 3 layers, but I've explained why we haven't. So I'm going to pull you down. Sorry about that. There we go. Right, okay. So pretend this has actually got a backing on it, because what we like is what we call a knotless back. Okay, you always start quilting from the inside out. If you started here and went down, it would move either that way or that way. So you want it to move that way, so it actually keeps in one place better. So I've decided I've got this little it's not yet again a metla. It's a 30 weight, which is obviously thicker, and it's a little variegated, which I thought would be ideal for me quilting. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a stitch around the inside of the white and all the way around the inside of the green. You can over quilt a project, just remember that. And the more you quilt, obviously it's going to go flatter, but it's also twisting and moving and so on. So I'm going to start down here in this corner, and you come up the back. I've got a knot. Now say if this had a backing on it, what you'd do is you'd pull the knot through so it hit the wadding. Okay, and then basically there we go. Quilting is basically a running stitch. That is all it is. It is so pleasurable to do. But what I will say is there is some quilters that you know, like really tiny stitches, so many stitches to the inch, and all this, and you can do the rocker movement. But I like to have my stitches a little bit more longer. I always have. It's just the way I like it. So there you go. See, I've started. All it is a little running stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on doing this evening, because it's 4:20 and I expect my other half will be back soon from work. And yeah, I'll do this evening, and then tomorrow I'll put it all together, give it a good pressing, and then that'll be inside my little, can't remember what it's called, but I will say what it is tomorrow. So I'll show you when it's all done. So take care. Okay, hello. So today's Friday, so it's obviously the next day. I finished off the quilting on my little quilt last night, and as you can see, I've laid it, as they say, laid it up. Now, as I say, you would normally do this a little bit differently, but this is the way I'm going to do this piece. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew all the way around, because then this little piece here is what I can turn it through. Now, the way I actually do things like this is I don't go down, you know, estimate 1/4 inch, go across. I go from from start to finish, get off, start to finish, get off, and then I find you have crisper corners, and you do actually have your 1/4 inch in the corners as well. Okay then, so I've just gone and put the walking foot on my machine. Let me show you. There she is, walking foot there on my machine, and I'm going to start sewing. Okay. Oops, they don't go there. They go in my pin cushion. Right then, okay. So as you see, now I'm going to have, put it this way, crisper corners. Okay, so now I'm going to trim these down, trim down the corners, and then I will, let's lift you up. There you go. And then I'm going to bag it through, and I'll be back. Right, okay, so I've bagged it through, and it actually has worked really well. So I'm good. It's already in my little box. So I am going to turn you around, and we'll go from there, I think. And yeah, I'll show you exactly what I've done. Okay, so this is the little basket that I made with all my little bits inside. So let's take that out. And then here is my little tin with my applique pins and my needle threader. I would not be without this desktop. I've had that years. It's called the desktop needle threader. And this is the little quilt. I am so pleased. And as you can see, let me take it out and turn it round. It's worked. It's worked so well. So it's pulled through. It lays lovely and flat, but that actually is the help of my my walking foot, you know, because it does the job. It does what it says on the tin, as they say. But yeah, I am actually so pleased with the way this has turned out. And then that will sit there in the corner. That will be my little threader, and there we go. There is my EPP station, until I think of something else I can make to add to it. But I just absolutely love it. I really do. So anyway, I'll hopefully put all this together and edit it all, and I hope it all helps. And everybody take care, and I'll be back soon for a normal podcast. So happy crafting. Bye.